Now I want to handle the camera because the player just runs around, but the camera doesn't follow it. I could control the camera with Corgi Engine, and that works fine. And it can handle bounds and parallaxing and all that cool stuff. But we just released Cinemachine 2D rigs, so I'm going to do that instead. And so I'm going to go up here to the very top where it says Cinemachine, and I'm going to click the drop down, and I'm going to grab a 2D camera here. There we go. And I will rename this follow cam. And now I just want to go ahead and set this up to kind of follow my character around. I can switch over to my game view here, which now has moved my camera to just sort of be out in space because it really doesn't know what it's looking at or what it's doing. I'll also notice that my main camera received a Cinemachine brain because I added a Cinemachine virtual camera. And so now I just need to set it up, right? And again, it's not a lot of code or anything like that. It's all pretty simple to do. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to kind of go down the line for follow. I want my camera to follow Ellen. So I'll just drag Ellen over there. Boom. And then for look at, I'll leave it as nothing. So it's just going to follow Ellen, kind of look, it'll happen to be looking straight forward, which is exactly where I want. I'm going to leave the field of view there with the same, all these same things here. And then for damping, damping controls like how much rubber banding or inertia the camera has. And so I want to have just a little bit. One is maybe is too much damping. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 0.5 for both X and Y. Helps if I type correctly. There we go. Z we're not using, so I'll just leave that as is. For my distance, I'm going to set that to 12, and you'll see it's updated now. And then I have these dead zones. You'll notice these sort of dead zone regions. And what a dead zone does is allows my player to move within that dead zone before the camera moves using inertia in this soft dead zone, and then 1-to-1 in this hard dead zone. So for my dead zones here, I'm just going to go ahead and set these up. I believe I'm going to use something like a 0.2 for that dead zone, 0.1 there. So that works rather well. And then for my soft dead zones, I shouldn't need these, but just in case, I'll set those up to be 0.4 each. Oh, and that reset those. So let me reset them back. All right. So that's pretty simple to do. I'm just going to go ahead and hit play. And you'll see now the camera will follow my character with some inertia. And you'll notice that while I'm inside that dead zone window, the camera's not going to follow me. And then as soon as I get to the end of it, then it will follow me. And it will follow me with inertia, so I'll sort of push into that soft dead zone, and then it will catch up, which is pretty cool. Now, there are often bounds within our scenes that we don't really want the camera to be able to see. For instance, if my camera's following Ellen and I push her through the ground, then the camera is just going to keep following her as it plummets. And I don't really want that to happen, especially in a situation where, you know, the character dies and then the character like sort of falls through the world, and I don't want the camera to fall through the world with them. And so I need to, you know, manage this. And so what I'm going to do, this is also something new, definitely worth checking out, is I'm going to go to my follow camera. And I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says extensions, and I'm going to add a Cinemachine confiner. And it's going to look for a Polygon Collider. And what I actually have here inside my level, I've created a Polygon Collider. It's just a square collider. There it is. It's just a 2D Polygon Collider 2D, which I've called camera borders. And so on my follow cam, I'm going to just click my circle selector and say camera borders. Now it can't move outside of that boundary no matter what. And so now if I were to say push my character through the floor, let me do that again here. All right, the camera can't leave the boundaries, right? So it's going to just sort of follow as much as it can, but won't ever leave those boundaries. And so now we get this cool parallaxing with the foreground and background stuff. A lot of cool detail went into the creation of these game kit assets. So a lot of fun to play with. And you'll notice that I can even jump through these floors here. And if I look, and the reason for that, and if I go to my scene view, all right, these are just platforms. So it helps if I click on the parent one with a box collider. I'm not using the 2D effector, the one-way effector. Instead, with Corgi Engine here, Corgi Engine creates a bunch of layers, and I just set these to be on the one-way platforms layer. And since they are on the one-way platforms layer, my character can jump through them one way and then land on them, which is a pretty cool thing for platformers, right? So no extra work there. So pretty cool stuff. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and check chat. So someone said, if it's perspective, how do you handle touches? Like assuming you're talking about screen touches, like if you're using a mobile game, you can just do camera dot screen point to ray, pass in the mouse position when you notice there's a touch, and that'll give you the world position. That's easy enough. There's a lot of code out there that does that, and it's a pretty simple process. There's a lot of built-in methods to do the conversion for you. Let's see here. People like the parallaxing feature. Is there a setting to make the camera center on the character after she leaves the dead zone? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you could do with Cinemachine to change the banding and whatnot, or you can add just a little bit of code to trigger a different camera setting or stuff. There's a lot you can do. Cinemachine's really, really deep. Chances are, if you ever say, hey, with Cinemachine, can I? The answer is generally yes, which is pretty awesome. I think the camera is the child of the character. Nope. So the camera is its own thing, just has a Cinemachine brain. And then the follow cam basically just pushes it around, makes it look at some stuff. The parallax effect is with a perspective camera, yes, but Corgi Engine also has built-in 2D parallaxing scripts, which is pretty cool. Are the platforms 3D as well? Do they have a Z? No. These are all sprites. Everything in here is a sprite. There's no 3D models in here whatsoever. Did the Corgi Engine set up parallaxing? That's just the perspective camera. Can you use Corgi Engine for non-platformer games? Yeah, absolutely. Are the assets display the foreground and background layers blurred, or is that post-processing? That is post-processing. I believe, well, I mean, they're not really rendered with super high detail. They're meant to be foreground blurry, but I also have post-processing. I believe I'm using depth of field on it. I don't remember. What did I do? Actually, I'm not using depth of field, so they're just rendered blurry like that. So yeah, that was the Pete, the artist, did that. He did an awesome job.